Hello, everyone. Welcome to Thoughts by Seth. In today's episode, we will continue from the previous episode. So, if you have not listened to the first episode, stop what you're doing and go and listen to it. Today's episode is a tough one, and I'd like to share that this is a trigger warning. There was tough things mentioned in this episode, so please be warned. Alright, let's dive right into today's episode with a huge bang. Before I got banned from Church A about a month before, something happened that really made me realize nothing was going to change. I mean, I had many moments, but this one was the big deal for me, which led me to coming out to them. I think often that a part of me knew they would reject me the moment I came out, and I was just so tired of their bullshit. And you're gonna hear that kind of language from me. So, if you don't like swearing, then yeah, I don't know. Don't stop listening. I think, and well, I know in the Christian community, swearing is frowned upon. But for me and for many other people, swearing is a expression. We express ourselves through swearing, and it helps us a lot, and it isn't a bad thing. So yeah, I was really tired of the bullshit. And I think a part of me knew that I would never really truly leave them, and so I knew the only way leaving them would be them rejecting me. And so that probably is why I came out to them as transgender. Um, so one Sunday, a homeless guy came, and as always, he was scared to come into the building. So a little bit of a context about that. Many homeless people are afraid of coming into the church building or any building in that manner. The way they are dressed, they may stink, and they worry that may bother people. And in many cases, it does bother people, and people are very judgmental towards that. Um, and so this guy, he came to us every Sunday. He was unable to come into the building because he was afraid that somebody will judge him, and he wasn't wrong with that. So anyways, I always gave him coffee and some food, but this Sunday, the pastor came out, and that was pretty much a red flag for me because he never came out to this homeless guy. Um, and so I decided to stand with him because I felt something was off. So the pastor started telling him that he has to come in, and if he doesn't come in, he must not come back for coffee and food. I mean, how can you even hear that? Can you hear that this pastor, a pastor of a man of God, just said that? I was I was mad. I am still mad to this day. Um, right in front of him, right in front of the homeless guy, I told the pastor he was wrong, and he was very upset about that. He told me to go inside. I remember I stormed off, got my helmet, and went back outside telling him he was wrong. We exchanged some not so good words. He pretty much told me I was being disrespectful and some other things worth not repeating, and I got on my bike and drove off in the storm. Some very wise wisdom, the support was there. Never, ever, ever, ever get on your bike when you are angry because that will lead you into speeding, and you don't want to speed, you know. I mean, sometimes it's fun to speed, but yeah, you don't want to do that. um, and I'm not saying you should speed. It's, yeah, I mean, I found it fun to speed, but you shouldn't be speeding. Okay, anyways, moving on. The anger led me into speeding, and I decided to pull aside and cool down. I actually started to worry because I was in fact working for the church and depended really on them. I feared I could lose that and was worried what the pastor may actually do to me because, to be honest, he had actually physically attacked me a while back and I feared he could do something worse. So I calmed down, pulled myself together, went back, and just another pause. This is what spiritual boost does to you. You know, when you are in a relationship, any kind of relationship with a narcissist, this is what it does to you. You are fearful of what may happen, and so you become submissive to that. While I was driving in, I saw the homeless guy and pulled aside, and he told me he was sorry and that he wouldn't come back. His words will forever stay with me. And yeah, I remember telling him not to listen to the pastor and that he was always welcomed. Um, and I was so wrong in that. You know, he would have never ever been truly welcomed. And it just saddens me that is the truth. You know, because that church, Church A, would have only ever accepted him on their terms and conditions, not on Jesus's terms and conditions. And by the way, Jesus doesn't have terms and conditions. Anyways, um, Jesus' terms and conditions is loving people unconditionally. That's his terms and conditions. Sarcastically. I decided to go inside. I decided to apologize to the pastor out of fear. And I pretty much told her that I wanted to submit to him and his leadership. Something he was ready for, and anyone who did not submit to him was a black sheep. And context about that is he taught a lot of the time with how women, especially wives, on how they should submit to men. Anybody under his leadership had no say. Everybody had to listen to him. For example, there were never ever new changes. If there was an issue with somebody, it was his way. And so yeah, nothing ever changed in that church. And I really believe that a lot of people was afraid to stand up to him because they knew standing up to him would be a losing battle. And that's the truth. And when you stand up to a narcissist, it is a losing battle. You know, it's not worth standing up to that. I look back at that day, and there are two things I regret. I regret going back. I shouldn't have gone back. And I regret telling the homeless guy that he was welcomed, when in reality he was never, ever, ever, ever truly welcomed. And there was nothing I could do, literally nothing I could do would have made any difference because it was led by a narcissist, and standing up to a narcissist, as I said, is a losing battle because they will never ever change, never ever. And so let's just pause right there. Um, I I want to say that when when we look at the Bible, and the Bible is very strong on helping the poor and helping the homeless people, we have to realize that when a pastor, a man of God, supposedly Jesus living in him, turns away a homeless person because of his terms and conditions, that's going against the Bible, and that's a massive, massive red flag. If you know a pastor or even a Christian who turns away a homeless person, you're gonna have to ask yourself some tough questions, because that's a massive red flag. Jesus would have never ever done that. So here's the deal: no Christ-like person will ever have treated that homeless guy that way. Jesus never ever turned the hunger away. And there's one scripture, and I'm gonna actually read it, that I really love. Matthew 25, verse 42 to 43, and it reads, "For I was hungry, and you didn't feed me. I was thirsty, and you didn't give me a drink. I was a stranger, and you didn't invite me into your home. I was naked, and you didn't give me clothing. I was sick, and in prison, and you didn't visit me." And we have to have this kind of mindset. And Jesus goes on to say, actually, that if you didn't do it for somebody else, you didn't do it for him. And it's so on point. This pastor believed in no free handouts. And when I say no free handouts, I'm taking my two fingers, putting them up, and then I'm pointing them up and down, up and down, up and down. All right. No free handouts is a big thing in my community, in the Christian community where I'm at. To them, people should be working, but the truth is, nowhere does Jesus say this, nor the Bible. Yes, we should work, but can we? And not always. The unemployment rate is so high, and there's lots of reasons why one may not be able to work, like having a disability, whenever it's visible or not. God favors the poor, and no pastor should ever turn them away. And turning them away or helping them with terms and conditions shows they have no Jesus living inside of them whatsoever. It's very important that I make a very big note here, and that is literally nowhere in the Bible does it talk about no free handouts. Literally nowhere in the Bible. And so going back to the scripture, Matthew 25, when you don't feed somebody, when somebody comes to you and they ask for maybe a slice of bread and you turn them away, you're turning Jesus away. When somebody comes to you and, for instance, asks maybe for help to be put on medication, maybe they can't afford medication, and then they ask you for help and you turn them away, you are turning Jesus away. If somebody needs a place to stay and you have an extra spare room, or maybe even a couch, and they come and say, "Hey, please help me," or I need a place to stay, and you turn them away, you're turning Jesus away. And that is a very, very important thing to remember. Love above all else, that's the message of Christ. And if we cannot love, then we do not know God. And that's actually 1 John 4:8. And it's one of my favorite scriptures. If we cannot, let me repeat that. If we cannot love, then we do not know God. And therefore, if we do not know God, then we do not know love. In the Christian faith, at least. According to the scriptures and according to this scripture, if you do not know God, then you do not know love. You don't have love living inside of you. Church A taught me that love does not dwell in so many Christian communities, because in so many Christian communities and so many churches, this is the following that's pausing. I'm gonna get emotional, but I'm alright. The following is what I've experienced in the Christian church: spiritual abuse, emotional abuse, and physical abuse. And nobody, I repeat, nobody should experience this in the Christian community, let alone any community. Nobody deserves to go through that. Nobody deserves to put through that, That is a different kind of hell. This is not the love of Christ. Since fully leaving the Christian community, my mental health and mental illness has improved, but I have a long way to go. One thing that many pastors have often told me, both as an autistic and transgender person, is to get out or adapt. And that really stings, and it continues to sting, because I know that I will never ever adapt, which means I will always be alone, isolated. But am I really? If I think about it in some ways, am I really? Maybe I don't have to adapt. Maybe I don't have to fit in. Maybe I don't have to follow this Christian rule book. Maybe a Christian. Maybe there's a Christian. Sorry. Maybe there's a community that isn't Christian out there that will accept and support me. A community that isn't religious based. Maybe there's one out there that will support and accept me. I will always and continue to always seek for a community that will love and support me. I keep seeking for it. I know there's so much more than hate. I never ever ever want to be in a community of hate, but of love. And so many Christian churches has only hate. There is freedom in love. There is freedom in acceptance. And freedom isn't in the Bible. It's in me and you. Let me repeat that. Freedom isn't in the Bible. It's in me and you. And the Bible has been used so many times in my own life as a weapon to hurt me, to abuse me, and to punish me. I get to choose, and you get to choose to fight for your freedom. And freedom ever comes at a cost. I want to end this off with 3 points, and before I continue with those 3 points, when I say freedom ever comes at a cost, there is always a cost. You are always losing something when you fight for freedom. For instance, when I chose to accept my true identity as a transgender man, I lost everyone around me. To this day, I have nobody, nobody in person at least, and it's hard. People call me the devil. The devil lives inside of me. And so it is a cost when you fight for freedom, when you fight to be yourself, when you fight to stand up for others. There's a cost at that. Alright. Point 1. There is good Christians out there. Seek them, hold on to them, and let them help you heal. And that's a very, very vital thing to say that in this episode, because while I speak up about my experiences, about the Christian community, and what I've encountered, it's important to note that I've encountered some good Christians out there. And when I engage with these amazing Christians, it brings healing. whenever I listen to, for example, Zach's teachings, it just brings some healing. I'm not a Christian, but I don't know, I can't even explain it. It just brings some form of healing. So it's important to hold on to that if you actually have that in your life, because it's very rare to find good Christians. Point 2. There are bad Christians. They don't speak for the good Christians. It's vital to always keep this in mind, but extremely important to know the red flags of bad Christians in churches. If you are in a toxic church right now, remember you are not alone. Get help and find a way to leave, because it is possible. Be very careful when dealing with a narcissist, because they will, I repeat, they will destroy you. They will take everything from you and make you the bad person in their story. They will suck everything out from you, literally everything, and turn you into a person you don't even know. I remember after being banned from my previous church, I just didn't know who I was. I'm still discovering who I am. One thing that I can share that I've questioned a lot is, did I, when I supposedly became saved, and I'm using that word, did I choose Jesus, or was that forced on me? Because when we look at so many instances for many churches, the moments they use an altar call, they play all this emotional music, and so therefore that's a manipulation. Did I choose Jesus, or was that forced on me? Why do I believe in Jesus, or believed in Jesus? Why do I believe in the Bible, or believed in the Bible? Those are the questions you should ask. Not because of some emotional music played, or because the pastor told you this is their beliefs and this is why they believe this. This is their experience. What is your experience? What have you encountered? We look at the Bible and we look at people who follow Jesus, trying to find a scripture where it says there's an altar call and people are playing soft music, emotional music, and manipulating all the crowds. I can't find that scripture, can you? sarcastically. And yeah, that's a very real thing that we have to ask ourselves, because a narcissist, especially a narcissist and a pastor who's a narcissist, they will make you believe what they believe, and therefore, are you really actually saved? Like, are you actually saved? Like, if you only believe because they believe, then something's missing, don't you think? And I'm asking the question. I'm probably gonna have people listening to this and they're gonna be like, well, he wasn't really saved, Well, I don't know, I don't know. I know that I love Jesus. I know that I believed in the Bible. I still love God in a distance. It's important to note that, because loving God, having a relationship with God hurts me, because of what Christians have done, because of how the Bible is used against me. And maybe one day I will share more about that, but let's jump into point 3. Point 3. You don't have to be in a church or in a Christian community to love God or have a relationship with Him, if that's something you even want. Don't let anyone, and this is a carry on actually, don't let anyone anyone, literally anyone, force you into having a relationship with God. Yeah, you don't have to. Be gentle with yourself, and remember, that just because somebody else is a Christian doesn't mean you should be a Christian. Just because maybe perhaps your best friend is a Christian and they're like, yeah, I experienced this, doesn't mean you have to believe what they believe. You believe what you believe, and that's important. You don't have to have a relationship with God. I love God in a distance. Um, I have actually recently somebody, I'm not gonna mention names, but somebody recently talked about borrowing faith and borrowing hope, and I feel a lot of the time I do borrow both. It's a borrow, right? And when I look at leaders and pastors like Zach, I kind of borrow his like hope, and his like what was it, beliefs in a sense. I just look at him and I'm like, wow, this is what Christianity should be like. To love people unconditionally, and the message and the work he is doing is amazing. And so, yeah, I do want to share one more bonus point, and this is a very hot topic. Um, when we look at the news, when we watch the news, when we see the news, when there's news articles, right? We see the following: we see trans people getting killed. We see trans people rights being taken away from us. Trans people fighting for our rights, and those are the things we see in the news. But then we also see in the news pastors and mega churches doing horrific things. I'm not even gonna name the things. You can just Google pastors and then select the news part, and you will see all the articles, literally all the articles about all of the horrific things they are doing. It is very clear where Jesus is, and it's definitely not in these people or mega churches. I'm not the evil one, and nor is any other transgender person, and that's important to say out loud. It's important for me to say this right now, because for so many years a narcissist pastor took my voice away. Christians continue to tell me, well, because you're transgender, you are demon possessed, you are the devil lives inside of you. Well, when I read the news, it says the opposite. I'm not evil. I repeat, I'm not evil. The devil does not live in me. The devil does not live in other transgender people. We are not the bad people here. Alright, we are fighting for our rights. We are fighting to live our authentic selves. And we are fighting to live in freedom. And my freedom is worth fighting for. And nobody, I repeat, nobody has that right to take that away from me. So I want to end this off and thank you for listening to the last part of Freedom from Christ, a transgender and autistic journey. Please let me know your thoughts in the comments or on social media even. Tag me, as I love to hear from you. If you have experienced something similar and you would like to share, please do share with me. It always encourages me as well. The next episode of Thoughts with Seth is actually called The Elder That Changed Everything, and you do not want to miss this one. I look forward to seeing you there. Until then, take care and look after yourself. And yeah, bye.